Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ole Walls! Let's get fucking listening, baby! Yes!
Ooh, welcome to Ole Walls House. It's me. It's your man. It's your main man. It's Ole Walls. I'm back again. Episode number 76 of Ole Walls House coming your way. So just want to start out saying thank you, everybody. Appreciate all of you. So thank you very much. Appreciate watching, listening, everything you guys, keeping up with us. So thank you. Hopefully a few of you guys listening to this now caught the live show last night, and it's going to be hopefully included in this. I think we got it, so it should work. So thank you to that. Thank you to Jeff Slanovec for doing that with us. And, thank you to all you guys. Thank you to producer Kevin every week as well. So all my thank yous out of the way. If you know what's next, if you guys could, we're doing that housekeeping. If you could go, please rate, review, comment, subscribe, share, let your friends know, let your family know, just tell them about it. Ole Walls House. It's the place to be. Coming up on the show, we're going to put in, last night's live show into the pod here. Also talking Cleveland Guardians, NBA and NHL. Passing thoughts. We got some fights and stuff to talk about. So fun show coming up. So not going to waste any more time. Let's dive right back into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're live. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 99% sure we are live on YouTube. Ole Walls House live, recapping the U.S. Open. Joining me, the one, the only, Jeff Slanovic. How you doing today, Jeffy? Jeffy has immediately dropped out of connection, which is just an awesome start to this. Gonna throw it out there that he is gone already. Just fantastic. Just absolutely fantastic. We're gonna vamp a little bit. Wyndham Clark gets a little rocky coming down the stretch, but did just enough. Rory McIlroy did not do enough, obviously. It's interesting what does this mean for Rory? Jeff is gone. We'll see if he comes back now. But it's going to be very interesting to see what this means for Rory. Wyndham Clark just kind of nails coming down the stretch. I mean, getting up and down when he needs to, hits a great drive down 18, hits a great shot into 18. The shot into 14 after Rory had just made bogey, he hits just an absolute dart up the little gap there. So Jeffy looks like he's trying to come back. He seems to be back. Jeff, are you with us this time?
We're back.
You're back and better than ever.
The laptop just went airplane mode on its own. I've never seen that before. It's a new one, but we're back.
How close was that laptop to becoming more of a helicopter after it decided to go airplane mode on you?
Well, I have to return this one at the end of the week, so it wasn't very close.
That's unfortunate. So Jeff, I was just walking through while you were on your little hiatus there. Just walking through Wyndham Clark, the 2023 U.S. Open champ, gets a little shaky coming down the stretch, but does just enough. It's an amazing shot into the par 5 on 14, couple incredible up and downs, and then does what he needs to on 18. What do you want to say about Wyndham Clark?
He was the most deserving winner of the championship. He kind of just lurked there early on, made a move and never really disappeared. Anytime he seemed to be in trouble, he found a way out of it. A number of huge up and downs, as you just said. Felt like every single time he was in a lie that looked a little squirrely, he got it to 4 or 5 feet and made the putt. And that's what you got to do to win the U.S. Open.
Yeah, in our group chat, Dakota Roof, longtime listener of the pod, great fan. friend of the pod, he was like, the double's coming, man. Like, the double's coming. Like, he was trying to will it into existence. And I think it's maybe might be the most prophetic thing I ever said. The double did come, and it was that stretch where he made 2 bogeys and a par. Like, that was his blow up. And he just managed it. And
that he didn't make a double from that bush when he couldn't get it out of the bush, and then you couldn't see the ball, and then magically his ball went over the green, and he chipped it to 3 feet.
I could not believe he went back in to hit the shot out of the bush the second time. Like, I was like, oh, no way. Like, he's just gonna take the unplayable now and take his medicine, chip it on, make double, and we got a whole new ball game.
Was he able to take an unplayable? Was that marked a hazard?
I don't think that. No, that was the Barranca, right?
Some of the Barrancas were hazards, and some
okay
were not. So I don't know that unplayable was an option for him.
I mean, he could have taken the drop out of the hazard.
Correct.
I don't think that one was a hazard. At least I never heard him mention it, but God knows what Azinger would have been talking about in that instance. He was not on his game, one would say. It wasn't his best stuff.
No, it was not. But Wyndham Clark was the story of the weekend for sure. I mean, Rory obviously never disappeared either. He just could never make a putt, and he had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. But Wyndham Clark didn't really ever. It never felt like he had a huge putt to make either. Like, he never had a 12 or 15 foot par save that I can remember that was like, oh, like if he doesn't get this one, it's going to get real interesting. I forget what hole. He might have had like a 6 or 8 footer. And that's about it. Everything else was 4 or 5 feet, or the 2 putt on the par 5.
Correct. Speaking of people in putting, Rory, not great. My man tapped in from a foot a number of times today.
The speed was phenomenal. The lines, for the most part, were phenomenal. And just one short, right? Like, just one putt somewhere, or Wyndham Clark not getting up and down one time, and he's right there, right? You got to think he's got a huge advantage if he can get the thing to a playoff. It just won, right? Like, just won. And he had so many good looks. I think he led the field in greens and regulation.
He was 13 of 15 at one point through 15 holes, and I think he hit 2 of the last 3. So,
yeah, the way we count him, he hit the green on 17. What was he, about 1.5 feet into the fringe, and raced that one right by the edge. But if he keeps hitting it the way he does, you got to think he's going to get one of these. But then at the same time, he hasn't won one in a decade, which seems hard to believe.
It's nutty that he hasn't won one in a decade, and that when he used to win majors, he won them going away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the of his 4 majors, only the one was close.
Correct. I saw a couple people mention that they thought maybe the way he went about the majors this week was something that we might see out of him moving forward. I personally do not hope that's the case, but where he basically just goes airplane mode, for lack of a better word, and just says, no press, no interviews, no this. I'm just going to do my own thing. Because I do think he is one of the smarter guys as the face of the tour. But, he's getting old quick, but he's right there. And obviously when he's driving it the way he did this week, it's going to be hard to imagine him not being there.
What's he, 34 now?
That sounds about right.
I'm the one sitting in front of a computer here. I'll let you know. Yeah, 34. Just turned 34. I mean, if you look at his major record, he
backdoors top 5s on Sundays, like it's his job.
I mean, since he's won, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, that's the fucking match play. What in the hell? Oh, that's World
Well,
Golf Championships. Whoops.
well, I saw someone tweeted one of the Justin Rays or whatnot of the golf statistics world that he has the best Sunday in a major scoring average in like the last couple years, which seems impossible until you realize that most times he's T21, T17 with nothing to lose, firing at pins the way he can, rolling putts with a little bit more pace because he's got nothing to lose, right? He's not out there playing for a ton of money. Looks real scary here when the TV beside me goes to commercial. But we're back. And he's just got to be in a little bit better position and see a couple putts drop.
Yeah, it's the being like right in the hunt thing has been like the last couple majors. Like you said before, it was like the famous like Twitter meme. Here comes Rory. Birdie goes out in 31 and then shoots, 36 on the back nine to stall out.
Yeah, needs 31 and bogeys 10 or 11. Makes a couple pars and has to birdie the last four to get to T4, right? And
Yep.
well, Rory was right there, but he really wasn't, right?
Yeah, his big miss today, as much as like not making the putts was the thing. The wedge on 14.
Mm-hmm.
Just hit it on the green.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're trying to stuff it. I know that's, I'd be the same idiot like trying to put one in tight, especially if I had his talent, but you can't make that mistake and win majors. And obviously he made the mistake and then didn't win the major. Like that's the thing. And then he gets the gift from the gods. Though I'm not sold that if it's in the bunker, he can't just get it up and down. I mean, Scotty did, right?
Correct. The bunkers were a little tricky this week, though.
Yeah.
It almost seemed like some guys struggled more out of the bunkers than out of the rough. There were a couple lies in the rough. Wyndham had a bunch of them that it was like, this looks like it might be a little tricky. And then they get it to 4 or 5 or 6 feet because they're all really, really good players. There were plenty of guys that if it was the Wyndham Championship, you'd be like, oh, that bunker shot's fine. And then all of a sudden it's bounding by the hole. They can't get any spin on it. There's some inconsistency. So you just never know in there. But do you think that maybe that wedge that came up a little bit short to a front pin was forced a little bit by the fact that he couldn't make a 15 or 20 footer and he felt like he had to jam one in there and get it to a kick in or 5 or 6 feet, which it seemed like he made those. It seemed like the minute that he stepped to that 7, 8, 9, 10 foot range, that's where the struggles really began.
Yeah, because he hadn't made somewhere in like the early back nine. He hadn't made over a 7 foot putt in like 26 holes.
Correct.
And I'm not so sure he made that one putt later, but
yeah, he raced the putt by. I think that was the longest putt he made all day. But at the end of the day, we are talking about somebody who only birdied one hole today, right?
Yeah.
Miraculous that he made 16 pars, right, to shoot 70. And even par on Sunday of a U.S. Open, that's what gives you a chance. But it felt like for someone to catch one of those two guys at 10, right, Ricky and Wyndham, you were going to have to make a couple birdies because it was out there. Yeah. Maybe not the 16 pars being out there because I don't know how many people, if anybody, made 16 pars besides Rory today. But there were plenty of people who made more than one birdie.
Yes. Yeah, one birdie. And he never really did kind of like the Rory implosion, obviously. But
no.
Yeah, you got to make
green.
Yeah. You got to make more than one birdie. We're a few minutes in here now. I think we got to talk about your boy. Also, wait, before we get to your boy, while we're still talking about Rory, I just want to point out that Mr. I guarantee Rory McIlroy is going to win. I guarantee it. He just decided he was peacing out. He wasn't coming. He wasn't going to defend himself. He wasn't going to take the lashings. He's like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. It's too late. I got to go to bed. Mr. Eric Athley, not here to take his comeuppance for the guaranteeing of Rory McIlroy.
No, but it looked good for a really, really, really long time. There were really not too many points during this tournament where the guarantee didn't feel like it had a real shot of being a guarantee. it makes you feel, I don't know what tournaments he's playing. I'm guessing he's not flying. I think it is to the Wyndham Championship is next. I thought I heard that there was a flight to the New England area tonight for those guys who are going U.S. Open to Wyndham. But this feels kind of like Travelers. That's it. Travelers. That it feels like Rory's going to get one of these events between now and the Open, and he's really going to be the guy going back to Hoylake, where he's the defending champ at that course, and he's going to go there and probably not win, right? Like it feels like he's playing too good to not hold a trophy on Sunday afternoon of one of these, and it feels like if there's an event in the next couple that he's going to be a part of, that could be the guarantee. If this is a guarantee podcast.
So Travelers, Rocket Mortgage, John Deere, Scottish Open, British Open.
Those first three don't really sound like Rory McIlroy events.
He was leading the Travelers last year, wasn't he? After the first day?
I feel like that might be one that he goes to.
And then Bucky saw him. The Travelers is an elevated event this year, isn't it?
Oh, if it is, then he's definitely in there, and he's winning next week.
I think last year the Travelers was when Bucky saw him in the elevator, and he shot like 63 that day.
That's correct.
Bucky took a picture with him.
Both of them are.
Bucky was towering over Rory, and that's bad because Bucky's tiny.
Bad news. Bad news. Bucky would be a small point guard in today's era.
All right, we've bashed Bucky enough. We've talked Rory. We've talked Wyndham Clark. We got to address it. Your guy, who was on his way to reclaiming the Big Dick Rick title, I think he's just got to stay Ricky Fowler. You want to talk about it? You want to work through some things?
No, I mean, I think obviously it's not really a secret that it's been a wagon that I've hitched my horse to for the last last decade or so. Didn't think that we'd be in 2023 and he'd have zero majors. But it felt to me like he got really, really tentative the last 2 days, especially with the putter. I know listening Thursday night with one Matthew Wader, another listener of the pod and a U.S. Open preview guest on the pod, the guy who set it up for the USGA was asked about the possibility of using some of the pins that they could use only if the greens slowed down. I don't think the greens slowed down, but it did seem like Ricky Fowler started giving the greens a lot of respect. Those first two rounds when he piled up 18 birdies in 36 holes, it felt like more of those putts were hit with a little bit more conviction. They were hit a little bit more firm, and he seemed to trust that he was going to make 3 and 4 and 5 foot comeback putts, and he did. And then you got to the weekend, and he's in the final pairing both days. And specifically today, it felt like every putt that he hit missed on the low side or missed short. It felt like every opportunity he had to go for it, he really, really bailed out. It started on hole 2, where I know it's a hard hole. A lot of people bailed out in the middle of that green. He goes a little bit long and a little bit left, right? Makes bogey. And he never really seemed to get back on track after that. It reminded me a lot of, I think I brought this up in our chat, the year that he was at Erin Hills, and he was 1 behind Brooks to start Erin Hills. He was 2 behind Brian Harmon. And those guys came out that day on a golf course that was giving up birdies, and he played it incredibly passive. I can't remember exactly everything. I know he shot even par, I believe, that round, and ended up getting basically blown by everybody who decided to make birdies. But I feel like I remember him laying up on a par 5 or 2, everybody else hitting 3 woods and drivers on the first hole, and him hitting like a 5 wood, leaving himself a bazillion yards into 1, which was a hole that was jump-starting a lot of rounds that day at Erin Hills. I want to say there was a shorter par 4 that he laid way back on, and some other people.
The weird one with the around the bend, right?
Yeah, and I felt like a lot of other people were pushing some drivers down there trying to get the 50, 60, 70 yards. And he laid back and gave himself 130 yards for a wedge that he didn't hit close enough, right? And a lot of U.S. Opens are about going out there and watching everybody else come back to the field as you just maintain your position, as we watch.
And I will say,
but you got to still Stay there. You can't go backwards.
Yeah, I will say
Right?
the scoring today was up. There were only, I just counted and I've lost track. I think 5, maybe 6 scores under 67. So, I mean, it was out there, obviously. Tommy Fleetwood proved that. There were a couple 65s from Rom and Austin Eckroat. So it was there, and there were plenty of 68s and 69s and 67s and a 66 from Jordan Smith, whoever the hell that guy is.
That guy almost made back-to-back hole-outs on 5 and 6 in the early coverage that probably didn't even need to be coverage, but they decided to show all the people who played an entire round before the final pairing went off. He was one of those guys, and he almost holed out on 6 right after he holed out on 5. But it was out there, but it goes, you can't go backwards, right? If you want to be the guy who's going to play it safe in the U.S. Open, you got to hit the ball in the fairway. You got to hit the ball on the green. And he wasn't really hitting the ball in the fairway enough. And when he wasn't hitting the ball close enough to the green or to the hole when he had chances to do that. I mean, I think to like hole 6, right? If you're going to go for the green, it felt like hole 6 today was a pin to do that, right? You could bail out right. You could bail out short right. The front bunker wasn't awful. And today's a day where he laid back almost as far as I saw anybody lay back. And he hit it to 16 or 18 feet. It was a fine shot. But you've got guys who are making threes on that hole in their sleep, just hitting 2-6. I think Wyndham Clark hit it like an iron off that tee.
Yeah, he hit an iron because I was like, holy shit, he's going for this with an iron.
Yeah, and then you look at it, it was only like 290 directly to the flag and 270 to one of those run-up areas. So
Ricky
a little
hit
bit,
one 224 off the tee and had 84 yards in. And then hit that to 20 feet.
There you go. You're just not going to, especially when you're leaving yourself, it felt like he was above the hole a lot of times today. You're not leaving yourself with putts that you want to hit with conviction, and you're not actually hitting the putts with conviction. You're just waiting for them to die in and waiting for other people to make bogeys. And Wyndham Clark wasn't doing that. And he got a front row seat to it for 2 days. And before you know it, Wyndham Clark was at 11 under and he was at 7 under. And it felt like that gap wasn't going to go anywhere or get closed because Ricky wasn't giving himself actual opportunities. Evidenced by, I think he finished last among all those who made the cut in bogeys.
Yeah, most birdies ever in a U.S. Open, but filled the bogeys on a course that wasn't, your typical U.S. Open course. With that, why don't we talk about the course? What'd you think of it?
I loved it. I don't know where that puts me on the U.S. Open paradigm of what people think a U.S. Open course should look like. I thought it was fantastic. I thought there was one really, really dumb hole as the weekend went on. I thought hole 3 was really, really stupid. The fact that you've got a barranca down the left side that everybody in the field can carry and a slope that seemed like it was like 45 degrees right to left and all the balls ending up legitimately within the same 25 foot by 5 foot wide area just seemed really, really stupid. It's actually astonishing that we didn't see more balls come up in divots there. But I thought the course was really, really good. In my mind, it's what I want to see in a U.S. Open. If you hit the ball in the fairway, and I know theirs were wide, but I want to get to talking about how long the course was. If you put the ball in the fairway, I want to see good shots rewarded. And I thought the amount of birdies that were made did that. When you hit the ball in the rough, I want to see you grind to make a par. I want to see you have no shot at making birdie. And I thought that that's what this course was. I don't have any issue with people having 10 or 12 or 15 foot birdie looks if they can drive the ball in the middle of the fairway and hit it from 202 to 15 feet. That to me is what I want to watch, actually, right?
I'm with you. I found the course very enjoyable to watch. It gave us a good leaderboard. Rory, Scotty, Tommy Fleetwood, and Cam Smith showed up late. But Ricky, Harris English was up there. Tom Kim kind of showed up. DJ, Xander was up there for most of the day.
Cam
Uh,
Smith.
yep. Like, I judge courses by like what kind of leaderboards you get out of them, and it's tough in majors. Like, we're not going to see this place again for what, like 16 more years, so it'll be tough. Like, you have such a small sample size. It's like, what's a good example? TPC Scottsdale. Like, is it the greatest course in the world? No, but like it produces some drama down the stretch, and it tends to get a good winner and a good like leaderboard. Like, that's a great course in my mind. Like, the front nine of that place kind of sucks, but like when you get to the back and the players start playing. So I thought it was intriguing. I liked how I think this especially works good in the U.S. Open, like for whatever reason. And if the U.S. Open is like a, hey, this is what a U.S. Open is, like kind of thing. I like that the front nine was gettable, and then it was kind of like, okay, now you got to buckle up and hang on for your life and keep it together heading down the back nine, because like your birdie opportunities, there's maybe a couple out here, and even the ones that are out here, like the par 5 and the short par 3 are kind of screwy. Like, I kind of like that aspect of it, and it was a cool looking place. Like, as much as like I think places like Winged Foot are like a good test, and Oak Hill are a good test. Like, there's only so many times I can watch somebody hit it down a fairway and they're super high rough and there's some trees, and then a couple, like a little ways over, there's another hole. Like, I like the mix up and seeing something different. And it produced a good tournament. So I'm on board with it. I think maybe they were a little cautious on the first day with watering and stuff. And I think they probably could have even, I heard they were watering like even last night, like lay off on the water, let it get real crispy out there. But it was tough and fair without going overboard. So I think I'm okay with it. Like, I think I have no problems coming back here. I'd much rather watch this place than fucking Pinehurst.
Without question. Without question. And I think the thing for me that made the place really, really awesome, and one of the reasons why I think I really liked the way that it was set up, was that you had a course. I'm going to look down at some notes here that I've got. It played from 72 to 7,400 yards, right? It's the middle 7.2s to middle 7.4s, right? Today it was 73.59 on the scorecard, right? I thought it was an incredibly fair test of golf. The fairways were wide. If you couldn't hit them, you were in trouble, right? If you could hit them, you had opportunities. Every once in a while, a pin was tucked, and the best you were going to get was 20 or 30 feet, and that's fine. But I don't really want to watch a U.S. Open where the people who hit the fairways are trying to grind to hit it to 40 feet and make a long putt. That's not fun to me, right? It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it, right? So for me, that doesn't sound like an overly long golf course. But then when you dive into it, there's only two that I could find U.S. Open tracks that are longer par 70 golf courses. That was Chambers Bay, and that was Shinnecock.
And now, Chambers Bay, they were flipping par.
They were
like a par
changing
71
par
a couple
all over
times.
the time. They went par 4 to par 3, right, on that one hole a little bit.
One was a par 5 to a par 4 one of the days, too.
They were doing weird stuff back then, right?
That place is fucking awesome, by the way.
Again, in a place that we'll never go back to for I don't know what reason, right? They want to do Pinehurst every other 5 years, right? But those are the only two par 70s in the U.S. Open.
Also, L.A. is 305 feet above sea level. So, it's not Phoenix. It's not Colorado. Like, it's not even like Pennsylvania and like upstate New York, like Oak Hill. Like, it's essentially sea level.
Yeah. So you've got that. But while it was one of the longest, it wasn't the longest par 70. I would argue it played like the longest par 70 because you had one par 4 that on the scorecard, which was my favorite hole on the course, it was one of the best risk-reward short par 4s that I've ever watched, never played more than 316 yards, right? Which essentially makes the 72 to 74 feel like it's 73 to 75, right? And then you had a par 3 that played 81 yards one day and was tremendous, and played 100.
It was sick.
and played 139 yards today. And quite frankly, they should have not used today's pin. They should have just gone back to one of the first 3 days, and it would have been a better golf hole. There was only one bogey made the whole day. It was by Wyndham Clark. It was the most boring, average pin on probably any golf course or any golf hole at LA Country Club the last 4 days. And it was one of the most fun holes for the other days, right? So you've got two incredibly short golf holes on one of the longest par 70s of all time. Those dudes had a test when it was not one of those holes. And that's what I want to see, right? You have to win the U.S. Open by not completely blowing a drive, but then stiffing a 180 to 240 shot. And if you do miss the fairway, you're probably making bogey on any of the last 3 holes. That's a good test of golf. Like I don't care if it's even par or 15 under. Wyndham Clark played awesome to get to 10.
Par is fucking irrelevant. Irrelevant. Like, and the people that don't understand that par is irrelevant drive me up a fucking wall. It doesn't matter. A fucking 4 is a 4 is a 4. Like,
that's right.
No matter where you make the 4 on the course, it counts for the same thing. Like, the 4 on 1 was the same 4 on 6.
Mm-hmm.
And they were vastly different holes. Like, the 4 on 1 was similar to like almost a better score. Almost a similar score to like a 4 on one of those long par 3s.
So while we're on this, because I think the par is a great topic, the R&A, I think, has it right in basically saying these are our golf courses. 1 year the winning score might be -8. The next year it might be -18. We don't control the weather. We don't control the lies. We don't control how the ball bounces. Here's our golf course. Come play it. It's going to produce drama. It's going to produce a great leaderboard. Whereas here, we've got these yahoos who are trying to do everything they can to protect par for no reason. And I don't think you can protect it on a fair golf course anymore. I think that the depth of talent is too great. It doesn't matter whether it's Rory or JT or Spieth or Hideki or DJ or Brooks. There are too many really good players that 4 or 5 of them are going to have it because it's their major week and they're prepping for it. And they're going to hit it long enough, straight enough, often enough that I don't think it matters unless you just have the golf course completely tricked up or you have the par just so ridiculous. And I don't know that you can make it more ridiculous from a lengthwise than you could have at LA Country Club.
These are just Rory's tee balls off 1.
There was not
379, 382, 378, 388. His shortest drive went 378 fucking yards. These guys hit it too long, and not only they hit it long, I'm not saying they hit it too long, like that. That's another discussion. We can get to that one in a second. But like they hit it too long at too high to be like, oh, what are you gonna do? They're hitting driver 6-iron into like 580 yard par 5s.
Rory had driver 8-iron today into 1.
Yeah, it wasn't even 6-iron.
And this becomes the dilemma, right? Because everybody, we talk about this all the time. I would love to have my T-ball get to release the way theirs do on some of these fairways, right? But at the same time, the firm fairways is what makes the fairways play more difficult most times, right?
Correct.
You are rewarding people for hitting the fairway, and typically you are penalizing them for hitting the ball that spins too much left to right or right to left and bounds into the rough, right? If you have a soft golf course and the ball doesn't go as far because it doesn't roll, well, now you're just going to have these guys sending drivers down the fairway that as soon as they land in the fairway, they're in the fairway, right?
Yep.
And now you're essentially widening the golf course, although you're shrinking the distance on it, which, as you just watched this week, as long as they're in the fairway, it doesn't matter how far away they are, they can make a score, right? So I think it is a weird dilemma. Do we soften the fairways? Do we harden the fairways? Like, you can't make it fescue and high grass everywhere, right? So there's just too many good dudes. And when you play greens as pure as the ones this weekend looked, putts are going to go in, right? You're going to make
Yeah,
enough putts because the greens looked perfect.
that was a good. Somebody was saying that. Was it Podrick Harrington? Maybe was talking about how great the
Yes,
greens were, and then I'm stealing this from somebody, and I don't know who. They're like, yeah, imagine what it would have looked like back in 2019 at Pebble if they were putting on these greens and not POA greens that were bouncing all over the place. Like they would have
correct.
shot 20 under at Pebble.
It's not a surprise that most of our close friends and a lot of the listeners of this pod probably putt way better when we go to tracks that cost a whole lot of money to play, right? Like it's not a surprise to me that when we go play a private club somewhere or you play one of these tracks that the tour uses, that all of a sudden you stand over 20 footers with immense amounts of confidence. And it's because they actually have people who do their job to keep the course the way it's supposed to be, rolling fast as every day, right? Putts go in more, right? That's just how it is. So give these guys an opportunity to get the ball on the green, which we should be doing, right? If they hit a good tee shot, they should be rewarded. Putts are going to go in.
Yeah, exactly. So we can go one of two directions here. We can go coverage, or we can talk like golf rollback because I've got a theory there too.
Let's
It kind of got shot to hell, but I'm gonna
let's
float it.
let's stay on the U.S. Open, and we'll talk about the future of golf at the end.
Okay. All right. What else you got from the U.S. Open then? What do you want? You want to go right to coverage, or you got players you want to talk about?
No, the only other player that I think we skipped over a little bit was Scotty Scheffler's just there.
He
And
can't fucking putt either.
he can't putt either. And it's wild to see. I mean, as two people, you and I, who grew up in the Tiger era, it felt like that dude was just winning weeks with his C game, his B minus game. When he had his A game, nobody had a shot. And Scotty Scheffler's striking the ball tee the green. The numbers say as good as Tiger was when he was rattling off seasons of 7, 8, 9 wins,
Which sounds like
multiple
blasphemy.
majors, which sounds ridiculous. But then he gets on the greens, and another guy who just he doesn't look confident standing over putts. He doesn't look confident standing over the 5 footers. And as we just talked about with Ricky, if you're not confident over the 5 footers, you don't hit those 10 to 20 footers with the same conviction that you're going to make some of them, right? And that's Scotty, and it's been Scotty now for a couple months. Cost him a lot of money.
I think it's in his head too, because like when people ask him about it, like when you see press conferences, and they're like, "Scotty, what about the putter?" He's like, "What? What about the putter?" Like it's all good, all good. It's like, bro, no, it's not. Like,
No,
like just be like, "Hey, the putter's not there right now. We're working on it. We're gonna grind through it. We'll be back." Like him being like, "What? What's wrong? There's something wrong with my putter? What are you talking about?" Like
and
that. Ooh.
it's 2023, right? You can't really hide. They literally have the statistics that say that if you were just average, you would have won 2 weeks ago or whatever it was by 19 shots, right?
I don't even think he has to be average to be winning right now. Like
No, he doesn't, right?
he can like still be giving away shots on the green and win golf tournaments.
Yes, correct.
Which is
so like it's not like you
silly.
can hide behind it because we have the stats, right? Here, Scotty. The stats say if you putted like Luke List today, you would have won the tournament by 7, right?
If you putted like Luke List is a wild statement.
And you'd win is the second part of it. Is a Wilder statement.
Yes,
But he was the only other guy. I mean, I don't really know what's next. I feel like I don't remember him being an open guy at the top of those leaderboards. I know last year was really the Scotty Scheffler come on, so maybe we've only had one of them. If my memory serves me correct, I don't remember him anywhere near the top of the leaderboard at St. Andrews next year. But if he hits the ball from tee to green better than anybody overseas, he'll have a chance.
T21, T8 in 2021. I don't remember that at all. But
I don't either. But if you want to get to the coverage, it's a disaster. It's a disaster every week. It was an epic disaster this week. It just doesn't make any sense to me. There's an incredible disconnect between what I think the viewers would want to see and what they choose to do for their allotted amount of time. And it's the number one thing that if the Saudis are really getting involved in the PGA Tour, I hope they figure out.
It's not good. It's pretty bad. It's really bad for like golf sickos like us. Like they dialed it back Saturday and Sunday when the leaders got to the back nine. And up until that point, it's bad. Like it's Thursday and Friday. I think I was listening to No Laying Up podcast, and one of their dudes counted. It was like, was it 22 minutes of every hour was a commercial? And fuck the playing throughs. Like them trying to like run the playing throughs off. Like, oh no, you're still seeing. Like no,
Yeah, we're
that
seeing
stuff
it
is
on
trash.
a quarter of our screen that's taking up half of the screen.
Yeah, they don't even give you half the screen with playing through.
No, correct. So I have some ideas at the very end of this as to how to fix it, but simply my notes just about the coverage. There's obviously not enough golf shots, right? It's impossible, you would think, to be as far behind the app, which we'll talk about at some point when we talk about the USGA. It's impossible to be as far behind the app scoring wise as they are. It just doesn't make any sense. Azinger today was an absolute, complete loose cannon. He sounded like a weatherman, just guessing. I've got multiple examples, one of which was when Wyndham Clark on hole 9 was chipping outside.
Yes, that was the worst.
And his ball got to the top of the hill and never stopped moving. And all you heard Azinger say is, it's going to stop there. It's going to stop there. It's going to stop there. Look, it's
That's
stopped.
not going to get down there.
Still rolling. It's not going to get down there. All of a sudden, it's 6 feet from the hole. It got down there. He just had to wait a second. It makes no sense. Then Rory hits the ball into the second fairway on 17. He's square in the middle of the fairway. Has as good a lie as you could possibly have. Flies the ball to the flag and rolls it just onto the back fringe. And you would have thought the guy hit it from 300 yards to a foot. Nobody else on tour could hit that golf shot. Nobody else could do that. I think people could. It's just my opinion. I think people could. You've got Rory going to the last 3 holes, down by 2 shots, and him being like, I really don't think Rory has a chance unless he birdies one of these last 3 holes. Like, you think? Yeah, he's
Meanwhile, he's like pumping Scotty Scheffler. Like every time he's got like a 18-footer, he's like, "Oh, he could get this," and he could be right there. It's like you're just like writing off Rory, who's 2 shots ahead of the guy.
Correct. I'm on a podcast. Tough. No.
Jeff's keeping the neighborhood up, apparently.
I'm keeping the neighborhood up.
Oh, God. You get told to keep it down there?
Apparently people are trying to sleep here. Tough sledding.
It's a little late there.
Tough sledding. After giving everybody a, hey, I'm going to go do this, so I'm doing it outside. Whatever. But yes, Scotty Scheffler, oh my God, if he just makes this, he's right in. Azinger, awful. Absolutely, absolutely awful. We missed the leaders going off on Saturday, which wouldn't bother me. However, they make it a point to show the first tee shot of basically every pairing for the final hour of the pairings. How do you then miss the leaders teeing off on hole 1 on Saturday? It doesn't make any sense.
The explanation was the power went out in the truck.
Sounds about right.
You'd think there'd be a backup generator, but,
No doubt.
Guess not.
The one that bothered me the most, though, And it bothered me the most because they have the technology that they showed us multiple times to not do this. Was every single time they decided to show a line from the ball to the hole on the green, it was a straight line. He's got 27 feet, straight line. Make percentage 4%, right? But then every once in a while we get this really cool one where it was like, look at the line that the ball's going to do going from the ball to the hole. And it's like, if you have that technology, why are you showing us that a 27-footer that's going to break 2 feet right to left is straight? It doesn't make sense. They don't do that next week, and they didn't do it last week. But today, they felt the need to do that. Here, he's got 65 feet. He's going to 3-putt it 24% of the time. It's a straight line. And then you see he's angled 45 degrees in the wrong direction. What are we doing? What are we doing? That's it. And Dan Hicks, he ruined Ricky Fowler's weekend. When
Dan Hicks with the all-time fucking bingo on Saturday.
Send him straight to Olympic coverage. Get him off the US Open.
I could not believe he said that. What'd Ricky have, like 4 feet? Like
in the dark, apparently.
All right. Relax, Wyndham Clark. You had to play they finished before the sun had set, and you have like 20 minutes after sunset. So fuck off with that.
So the last thing that I have in my fix to all of this, right? And the Masters do this. I forget. I want to say Rolex, maybe. They provide us a couple hours of uninterrupted coverage, sponsored by someone. Sounds like Rolex. If not,
I think it's Rolex.
Free ad for Rolex. It seems to me Hot Wheels was the one that we made fun of the entire weekend, right? That's the new Curve TV from the Ryder Cup.
Damn it, I had Curve TV in my notes. You just didn't let me get to it.
But why don't these companies, who are clearly paying a lot of money to run multiple commercials an hour throughout the entire U.S. Open, why don't we just stick their logo in the corner of the screen for the entire hour or 2 hours a day for the same price, and just throw in every once in a while, like, hey, like, look up there in the corner, watch Hot Wheels on NBC this Tuesday.
I would be okay if they put a logo in every corner.
Heck, rotate them like it's the NCAA tournament scoreboard. Like, for the next 5 hours, we're going to go from this one to this one, and don't forget, sign up for Golf Pass, right?
Yep.
But, like, there's got to be a better way, specifically in the final pairing window, right? When the minute that leaders tee off, that 4.5 hours of coverage has to be the best coverage you provide, right? I don't want to hear about the amazing stories then.
You know what the sad thing was? It was the best coverage they provided.
You're right, which is unfortunate. But it's still just, it feels like it has to be better.
Until the back nine, it feels pretty bad.
I mean,
you know what they could really do the fuck away with? Ads for the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
Like, motherfucker, I'm watching it.
That's right.
Like, you got me. You already got me.
And I think that with the rising popularity of fantasy golf and golf gambling and things like that, and the need for instant information, right? The fact that the app is so far ahead of the live coverage. I mean, they showed a shot today on the last hole. Tom Kim hit the best approach shot into 18 that you could possibly hit it to 4 feet or whatever it was, right? That shot occurred like 10 minutes before they actually showed it. And then they show the shot and his putt immediately.
Yeah.
As if
I made a mistake one time. I was in the room, like, I left the room like right around the switch from Peacock to network TV.
Oh, and then the switches are the worst.
So Peacock then immediately just fires over to a featured group. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, they're showing a lot of this guy. And he hits a really good shot.
The other day too.
I forget who it is. He hits a really good shot, and then he's walking around, and I'm like, why are they still showing? I'm like, motherfucker, it's, it went from 12 to 12:03, and so then I switch over to the broadcast. Like, after I've watched the dude hit the shot, I've watched him walk around for like 5 minutes. Now I'm on the broadcast. I come in a commercial, of course, I get through the commercial. They're doing their catch up, and they're like, now over to the 17th. I'm like, I watched the shot fucking 15 minutes ago, man. Like,
On your
what are we
channel.
doing?
On your channel.
On your channel.
It makes no sense. And not to mention, with all the hopping around, I know there's not a lot of it in this. You initially have to go from one to the other, and the first day, you got to switch to Peacock to watch 12 people that are the last couple times for an hour, right? But every time they switch, they feel the need to like get you up to speed as if you didn't just switch from one channel to the next, right? Like I don't know many people who they're like, oh well, from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock, it's going to be on USA, and then at 6 o'clock, it's going to switch to NBC. That's where my allegiance lies.
They were doing it when they weren't even switching channels, but like when they were switching announcers.
Mm-hmm.
Like how they were bringing in announcers and being like, you know, Brandel and Paul McGinley, you go for a couple hours, then we'll bring in Brad Faxon. They were like running a recap every couple hours when like the announcers came in. It's like, I get it. You probably need a couple of seconds, you know, you probably need a minute or two to, you know, to switch those guys out, but like just show a shot and have like, I don't know, do something, but I don't need a 6-minute like recap every 2 hours.
No, it's
also,
it's like when you have
we don't need Brandel calling golf shots. Like he's terrible at it. And Paul McGinley's a fucking idiot. Just leave those two on live from. If that's what you want, go find them there. I don't need them like calling golf shots. They're not good at it.
It feels like a lot of our golf announcers of the golf shots are just, it feels like we can do better. It's not going to be a big name, but it feels like there's people out there that would provide a better commentary of some sort. That
I mean, who are the good golf announcers? Even you can like Immelman is way better than Azinger.
Immelman is way better than Azinger. I have a sweet spot for Scott Van Pelt, and I used to like the job Mike Tirico did. I think Van Pelt's really good. But again, if it's not on ESPN, then
we get him twice a year. He shows up at the PGA for a while in the Masters,
right? But I think he's really, really good. I don't know. I really like Colt Knost. Now it seems like there's just so much Colt Knost that like I don't need something witty every time we go to you, right? Like it was really good when it was new and he just randomly got interjected in, and now he's got an entire group for 18 holes, and it's like this is a lot of isms.
Yeah.
For 4 hours, right? Like but golf needs a little bit of that. I think as we transition to a newer golf clientele, I guess you could say, in the next 20 years than the last.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right. I think we've expended coverage discussion here. Let's talk future here. Future US Opens. I'm gonna bitch here. You can come jump in and say yes or no.
It's Pinehurst next year, buddy.
Pinehurst next year. Pinehurst stinks. We agree on that. It's Oakmont in 25. All in on Oakmont. Shinnecock in 26. I'm good with that.
Mm-hmm.
Pebble in 27. Whatever. Like, they're going there. Like, that place is never going away.
I enjoy the years that it goes to Pebble because I know Pebble.
Yep.
Like, I could tell you what hole 8 at Pebble is right now. Right? Like, we've played it on video games a million times. We've watched it every year during the AT&T, some years twice. It's a golf course that's stood the test of time, right? But at the same time, like, the last time we went to Pebble, Gary Woodland put up a pretty good number, right? For a U.S. Open. Like that. So do we really think that Pebble can protect par with these guys anymore? Like, I don't. For not a couple of them that week. I'm interested to see how Oakmont holds up.
Yeah, Oakmont's going to be fascinating in 25 if there's no changes to the golf ball. Wingfoot, whatever. Marion, excited to go back there. I'll be very interested. I mean, in 2030, that could be. Who knows?
There's your answer to the distance thing, right? Like, we can't build longer golf courses. Okay. but we can build more like Marion, right?
Yeah.
But you're putting out golf courses there that force players to hit certain shots, which brings the entire field into play. The greens are very undulated. They're very small in the grand scheme of what PGA Tour players are typically used to, right? And therefore, it puts a premium on precision, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But some of these golf courses are so afraid that if they don't have the things that Marion has that make Marion the test Marion is, that they just get torched by these guys. So I'm with you. I'm very interested to see if these guys who now hit 3 irons, 290 yards, if they can torch Marion the way that they torch some of these other places where 3 irons that go 290 in the fairway become 6 foot birdie putts.
Yep. You know what my biggest problem with this is? That we've got to 2030. Do we need to lock anything in beyond that? Like,
Well,
was that necessary? Do we need to have Oakland Hills locked in 2051?
seriously?
Yeah. Oh, they're out to 2051.
The 2051 U.S. Open might be in Saudi Arabia at this. Like,
I mean, from now till 2051, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's only 8 open years from now until 2051. There are
see,
20 sites
that seems
already booked.
I get why you do 5 to 10 years out. I don't like the Pinehurst thing, but I understand why, right? Like they're trying to make that like the U.S. Open track. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Which is so dumb because you've got 2
There's-
U.S. Open tracks with Oakmont and Shinnecock. Like,
And they've been at Wingfoot enough times, right? They've been
Yeah.
at Congressional a ton. Like, but the thing that I don't understand about it is that the game of golf changes so often, right? I understand that the clubs need time and the PGA Tour needs to create the schedule that if they are going to say a Pebble, what does that year look like with the Pebble tournament? They are going to some of these other places that might host, although none of the ones you just said host other events on the PGA Tour. I get that they've got to fit the USAM and the US 4 ball and the women's events and where the PGAs and all that are going. And I understand that the clubs are making changes when they're getting these, right? LAC Country Club notoriously dumped a ton of money into that place to get it ready for this week, which I think is what really fired people up is that you spend all this money and then you close it down, right? There's not many people there that get to see all this renovation that you did to the place. It just seems like it's way too far.
I agree. Other future of golf discussion. Here was my conspiracy theory on golf ball rollback, model local rule, whatever you want to call it. The USGA let LACC get torched on Thursday to make their point that golf rollback is needed. Too far out there?
Well, if they did, and Mike Wan took the podium the other day and said that we don't necessarily need golf rollback, but if we don't do something, the game's never going to be the same. And I don't disagree with that part at all. It did feel like the ball went really far this week. The ball bounced really far. It rolled really far. The numbers are very gaudy, right? You just rattled off Rory's 4 T-balls on 1 a little bit earlier, and I know that it played downwind and he hit the fairway 4 times.
But still, even like
It's not crazy what you said.
even like 10 years ago, to be like Rory hit 4 drives at 380, you'd be like, what?
Yeah, he should be on the long tour, right?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I don't think you're way far off there. I just don't see how the thing you look at guys, Ricky Fowler's hitting it further than he ever has. Matt Fitzpatrick chased distance, won a U.S. Open. Bryson DeChambeau chased distance, won a U.S. Open, right? Everybody, Rory years ago, chased for distance, right? And it clearly didn't work then, but it's working now. Everybody's chasing distance. The guys who don't hit it far enough very rarely compete consistently on the PGA Tour and certainly in the majors anymore. How does rolling the golf ball back help those guys any more than it already does, right? If everybody loses 10% or whatever they say it's going to be, it still feels like those who chase the distance are going to get it. What I'm
Oh,
fascinated
I
by
think
is,
it makes the divide bigger, no
with
doubt.
no doubt, and isn't that the opposite of what you want if you're the PGA Tour?
I think yes, but I think like we talked about this. I mentioned this last year at St. Andrews. Like St. Andrews is a fucking joke. Like
On whatever
Pebble's
side
gonna,
the wind isn't into.
yeah, Pebble's gonna get shredded. I
Seems
think
likely.
if in 4 years if they go to Pebble, like with the best field, one of the best fields in golf. That said, there are a lot of weird dudes who make the U.S. Open. I noticed that again this week. I always kind of forget that.
There's
Like
hope
I
for
just
all.
don't know. I think Oakmont in 2 years, if there's no ball rollback, will be a incredible test.
Mm-hmm.
If they show up to Oakmont and start to really beat up Oakmont, it's going to be like, wow. I don't know what else you do. Like you can only make the greens so fast and them so fucked up and the rough so thick. If the ball just keeps going further and higher and straighter and it's not all the ball. Like the players they're getting better. Like they're like you said, they're all chasing speed and distance. Like
Mm-hmm.
these guys are making concerted efforts. Like
That's right.
and they're going to keep getting better at it. And science is going to get better, and health and nutrition are going to get better. Like
They're better athletes.
yeah, you don't see John Daly's or Tim Herons or other Colt Nose like out on tour anymore. Like they're all
No.
like relatively in shape. Like someone's a
Mm-hmm.
little pudgy here or there, but like there's no big guts really out on the tour. So like it's not all at the ball, all the clubs, but like I just wonder like what are you gonna do? Like do we just the ball is what it is and we just accept that you know, tournaments are going to be won at 10 to 20 under, and that's just what it is. And hey, maybe that's the answer. Like,
So that was going to be my question, and my question is, who cares, right? It's not like we just watched a U.S. Open at L.A. where the guys just hit flip wedge after flip wedge after flip wedge to inside of 20 feet and made putts, right? Like we're talking about guys who were hitting 5 woods into par threes, 3 woods into par threes, and also
I will
hitting.
push back and say they did have to make par threes 300 yards to do that. Like,
They
that's
they did, no doubt, no doubt. But you're still watching guys hit it to 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 feet, right? And you're watching guys who, when they miss hit it, have to hit 50-yard bunker shots or high flops out of fescue or take their medicine. And that to me was fun, right? Now, for every one of those, there were also, like we talked about before, multiple par fours under 400 yards, which is very not normal in a U.S. Open. Multiple of them where you could hit driver or 3 wood, which is also not very normal, right? A lot of the par fours you see in other events and other majors that are under 400 yards are typically layup type holes, right? Where you're hitting 5 or 6 iron or 4 iron to a fairway and everybody's flipping something in there. That wasn't really the case with some of the holes here, right? People hit drivers on 10. People hit drivers on 12 to try to get the ball down there and give themselves a flip wedge. So I don't know what the fix is. And I would say, as a golf fan, I don't really care. If these guys can hit it straight and they can control a swing speed in the high 120s and a ball speed pushing 190 and 195, if they can do that consistently and they hit in the fairway, why wouldn't we want to watch that? Right? Like, why wouldn't that help the future of the game of golf? Wouldn't kids want to grow up and be like, I want to swing that hard and I want to hit it that far, right? Not, I'm going to play a different ball than what the guys on TV are playing, right? Like, that seems stupid to me. To save what? Records and numbers?
I will. I agree with you in a sense, and then at the same time, I don't give a shit about it for the records and the numbers. Like, I don't care if the winner of I don't care that they won the U.S. Open at 10 under par. Like, no skin off my ass. I don't care if they win it at 20, to be honest. Like, but what do you do? Like, technology's not going to stop, I guess would be my thing. Like, it's going to keep going farther. Like, and it's going to keep going farther. What do you do when, like, the course is all driver flip wedge? Like, not every court, like, LA Country Club is in the middle of Beverly Hills. Like, they pointed that out, middle LA. Like, do they have room to go and find more yardage? Like, Marion's a place that doesn't. Like, that's famously, like, there's no room there. It's in a tiny footprint.
Isn't the answer, and I know that people don't necessarily like this, right? But isn't the answer having things in place essentially like a barranca in front of the green or a stream in front of the green, right? Like, what makes 13 and 15 at Augusta such awesome golf holes is that you got to get it to the green, right? Or you got to lay up and go over that thing, right? And
that said,
I don't remember.
They've had to add a ton of yardage to those 2 holes in the last 2 years.
They have, no doubt. And they very easily.
But I agree. I do agree where you're going with it.
They could very easily just do what the U.S. Open does and say, yep, they're par 4s now, right? And now Augusta becomes a par 70, and they become really, really, really hard holes, right? Instead of really easy hard holes, right? But where I'm trying to go is why golf courses feel the need to push this distance narrative or this distance into the game, right? Like, you're playing holes today that the fairway just goes from the tee box, wherever the fairway starts, it basically goes all the way up to the first thing that can stop it, right? And if nothing stops it, it might be a greenside bunker, or you can go all the way to the green, right? Why not grow rough out at 305 yards and
just grow it knee high?
And force people to not be able to hit it that far, right? Like, isn't that essentially what has made TPC Sawgrass a interesting golf course that provides a variety of different winners? Is that the margins, unless you're hooking it so wide, left to right or right to left, to shape it around the dog legs, isn't that what has kept everybody in the players? Is
what's
all going to hit the same shots on a lot of holes?
Is it 4 that they run the creek across? It's like,
yeah, it's a perfect example. If you miss the fairway, most of those guys are either hitting it over the creek to a position where they're in trouble, or they're pitching out, right? There's no reason why we have to have holes where you can hit it 380 and straight in the fairway, right? Like, I'm thinking like in our head, right? And listeners of the pod are not going to know this, but like, I'm thinking like one at Glen Mara, right? Like holes like that where you just can't hit it 360 yards straight, or you're in a ravine, right? Like, everyone has to hit it. And I get that is not fun, but if your answer is we have to bring people back, I'd rather bring everybody back to the same playing than say we're going to protect the courses by having you all hit it 10% less.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Jeffy, anything else we got to cover? We've been doing this for a little over an hour now here. It's getting late.
I've only
it's getting late.
That one time here, so on the East Coast here, it's getting a little bit late.
Anything else? I guess we didn't mention, just in passing, there's nothing to talk about. Tommy Fleetwood shot 63 today and completely whiffed the putt for 62.
Completely whiffed it. First guy to shoot 63 twice on Sunday in a major.
Which is silly.
Or I'm sorry, maybe it was at the U.S. Open. One of the two.
U.S. Open. Anything else from you?
No, Adidas was awful with their scripting. Nike very plain. And Ricky Fowler would have won the tournament if he was out there in all orange today.
And all orange. You wanted the all orange. That's the perfect way to end this one. Ricky Fowler would have won if he was in all orange. Thanks for coming to the live show, everybody. Hopefully this ends up actually in the podcast like it's supposed to. So take it easy, everybody. Jeffy, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Always a pleasure.
Let's talk some Guardians baseball now. Not the road trip we were looking for exactly. It was just the bats kind of went cold a little bit. It kind of reverted back a little bit. The 2 series were almost completely identical. Low outputs in games 1 and 2, We scored 3 runs against the Padres in the first game and 0 in the second, and then 8 in the rubber match to pick up a win and not get swept. And then with the Diamondbacks, 1 run in the first game, 3 runs in the second, and then explosion, 12 runs in the final game to again not get swept. So again, not the road trip we were looking for. 2 tough teams. Machado and Tatis were going deep. They had 2 home runs each, and then Juan Soto, Nelson Cruz, Gary Sanchez, they all had some home runs too. The Diamondbacks put it on us too to start. So it is what it is. It was a tough road trip. It's a West Coast road trip. You're hoping to get out of there 3-3, 2-4. Not ideal, but it could have been worse. It could have been worse. That is the scary thought that it could have been much worse. So that's what we got. Andres Jimenez back. That's good. Sorry, my mic is sounding all funky here, so sorry, I'm screwing around with it. Tristan McKenzie's return from the 60-day injured list they started the season on. Quickly back. He's on the 15-day injured list now, so not great there. You hope that's not something that's recurring and lasting forever. So Josh Naylor leading first baseman in the AL in RBIs. Meanwhile, he's 10th in AL first baseman voting. He's been swinging a really hot bat lately. Let me see if I can pull up some stats on old Joshy boy. What we got here for the year? Yeah, his batting average is up to 288, and it was way below that. 53 RBIs. He had 79 RBIs last year in 122 games and 63 games this year. Just under half, already at 53. So he's really found a hot bat lately. I wish I could find in his last 5 games. Does it tell me? His last 5 games, he has 5 RBIs. And those were, and not shocking, of course, because they didn't score many runs in the other game. Those all 5 came in the 2 wins they had. So he's swinging a nice bat. So hopefully they can get back on track. They've got a schedule here that they should be able to win some games. They've got the Oakland Athletics coming to town Tuesday. They're off tomorrow, Monday. I'm recording this Sunday. So, the A's coming to town. After kind of a hot run, the A's have kind of fallen back to earth. They just got swept by the Phillies. Maybe we can make that 2 sweeps in a row. Like, a sweep would be nice. When was the last time the Guardians swept somebody? It's been a while, would be the answer. Trying to think how far back I need to go. They didn't get the Orioles. They didn't get the Cardinals. They got swept by the White Sox. They got swept by the Mets. Didn't get the Angels. Didn't get the Tigers. Have they swept anybody this season? I'm back in April, and the answer to this question is negative, Ghost Rider. Wait. Nope, they didn't even sweep the A's to start the year. Yeah, they have not swept a single series yet this year. Oofda. Maybe we can start. And then the Brewers. The Brewers were kind of having a rough go of it. They'd gotten swept by the Athletics. The Twins took a couple from them, but they bounced back. They just had a sweep over the Pirates. So, but still, they're gettable, I think is the point of this. So, hopefully we can get some wins. We can find the bats. The bats went cold again. So let's just hope we get things going. NBA, NHL, let's just roll into that. not much happening. Golden Knights, just absolute rout. We talked about them and being one of the quickest teams to ever win a title. 9-3, 4-1 series, just domination, really. 9-3 in Game 5, that is. So, not much more to be said there. I watched some of the game. Wasn't very interesting, obviously. I mean, the most interesting thing was how much the Golden Knights were going to score. Elsewhere in hockey, it seems like the Flyers are blowing it up, which I have to imagine is the right thing. I mean, I know I'm an idiot when it comes to hockey, but the team sucks. Like, the team as currently constructed is not doing anything. So I think it's time to blow it up. And that seems to be what Daniel Briere is doing himself. So I like it. I fully support it. Hopefully they can, start it over. If you have to get out one bad season when you're, in the process of blowing everything up, that's a lot different than being like, oh, we're close, which makes the fact that the previous ownership was like, oh, we're kind of close. Or not ownership, previous management. I don't know if they weren't saying like, hey, we're one piece away, but they're like, we're not too many pieces away, was kind of the vibe I was getting. So glad to see someone being like, no. We're blowing this thing up. I appreciate that. NBA, the Nuggets take out the Heat in 5. Nikola Jokic, he was just wanting to go home. He did not want to go to that parade, but my man got to the parade and started having himself a good old time. So this was the best day. Doesn't want to fucking leave. Love it. But yeah, he was not thrilled when he found out about the parade on Thursday. He wanted to get home. He had a horse race going on or something. A horse that he owned. So the Nuggets in 5 over the Heat. I did see that the Nuggets beat like an 8 seed, a 4 seed, a 7 seed, and an 8 seed. Obviously, the 1-7 seed was the LeBron Lakers. The first 8 seed, of course, they're going to play an 8 seed, and the 4 seed is, who they're supposed to play too. But I think the LeBron's Lakers being the 7 seed was a little bit of like a misnomer. It's not like in the NBA, like regular season matters so little that him getting to be a 7 seed was stupid. So, let's keep moving on in the fight game. Regis Prograis wins an ugly fight at 140. I watched like the last 4 rounds after the golf was over. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what he does at 140. Apparently, Teofimo Lopez is retiring and is giving up his belt. I know he's got a child custody case going with his, the mother of his child. I don't know if they were married. I don't know if that's like a part of that, a ploy in that thing, or what that's going on. But the dude's like 25, 26 years old and he's retiring. It seems weird, but he did reach out to the, whatever, was it the WBC or WBA, whatever belt he holds at 140, and told him he was vacating it because he is in fact retiring. So there's that. So that's, happened, which is weird, but I would expect we see him back. I think, get him through whatever court case and legal battle he got, and then he'll be back eventually. You would think, hey, I've been wrong a million times before, but that's what it seems. Tim Tszyu, big knockout early. I don't even know who he was fighting, but I saw the clip. Cool knockout. You should check it out if you enjoy fighting at all. That's one to look at. Canelo will not face Badu Jack. Badu Jack had reached out to him about, not reached out, but put it out in the universe about Canelo coming up to cruiserweight to fight him. Canelo, when the talks got happening, wanted him to come down 20 pounds to 180 pounds and fight there at a catchweight, and then have a rehydration clause where he couldn't weigh, over X amount by the time of the fight. Badu Jack said no thank you to that, which I don't blame him. And now it seems like Canelo is headed towards facing Jermall Charlo, the Charlo brother who is the 160-pound champ. And he has not fought in forever. I think we were talking about that last week, but let me look it up again. But now everybody, like all these people had been calling for Jermall Charlo to fight Canelo. They wanted him to fight at 160 for many, many years. And now that we're heading towards the two fighting, everyone's like, whoa, this is the cherry pick by Canelo. This is bullshit. He hasn't fought in 2 years. Yeah, June 19th of 2021. So, by the time the fight would happen in September, it would be 20. Like, what? I don't understand. You guys, everybody wanted this fight. Like, it's weird. Boxing is so weird because you get people who are like fans of like promotional companies. There's Top Rank, there's PBC, there's Matchroom, and a couple other ones out there. But like people get like to be fans of promotional companies, not like just fighters or just like enjoying like watching good fights. And like the people who are fans of PBC who like Jamal Charlo was with were like all about this. Like, Canelo's ducking us. He won't fight black fighters. He won't fight other Mexicans, which, oddly is true. He does not have a lot of black fighters or Mexicans on his resume, which is kind of wild in boxing. But like, we're supposed to not want this fight now. I don't get it. I thought this was the fight we wanted. I thought this was the fight everybody said was good. Canelo's. It's not like Canelo's a big 168 guy. He's 5'8". Charlo's 6 foot. He has a 4-inch longer reach. He's only a year older. So he's not even a year older. He's a couple months older. Canelo will turn 33 here next month. Charlo just turned 33 last month. So, like, they're the same age. Charlo's undefeated. I just don't know why this is a problem now. Like, now that it's actually happening and your boy hasn't fought in a while and, like, you're hitched your wagon to this, like, I'm down to see the fight. I would buy that fight on pay-per-view. Like, I'd be down for that. Let's see, Canelo. John Ryder, white guy. Gennady Golovkin, Eastern European. Behol's Eastern European. Plants white. Billy Joe Saunders is English. Avni Yildirim is Turkish. That was stupid. Callum Smith is white. Sergey Kovalev is Eastern European. Danny Jacobs. Rocky Fielding's white. Gennady Golovkin a couple times. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He's Mexican, kind of. I mean, he's not kind of Mexican. He just sucks. He's like, when you think of Mexican fighters, he's a pussy. Liam Smith, English. Amir Khan, English. Miguel Cotto. So, James Kirkland. There you go. We found some. Actually, Cotto's Puerto Rican. Is Aristotle Lara? He's Cuban. He's Mexican. So yeah, not a lot. That's always like the rub on him is that he won't fight black or Mexican fighters. He likes to fight white guys, English dudes, and Eastern Europeans. Speaking of Eastern Europeans who've fought Canelo, Dimitri Bivol, what the fuck's he doing, man? He hasn't fought since he fought Canelo. He fought Gilberto Ramirez in November, but he hasn't fought since. It felt like he was on top of the world coming off that Canelo win. And I think he wants a rematch at 68 that Canelo doesn't seem to want to have any part of, which I don't blame him because I think then he gets his ass whooped at 68. If Bivol can get down to 68 and still work down there. So very interesting. Nothing in UFC for a couple more weeks. So that's about all there. And yeah, that's it. Let's keep moving on. I want to hit you guys with some passing thoughts of mine. For this week that was. Had my first stop at the soft serve ice cream place in town. The little ice cream truck. God, I love it. I love soft serve ice cream. It's just absolutely fantastic. It's the best kind of ice cream. It's the best. Ice cream is the best dessert. And soft serve ice cream is the best of the best dessert. Just a good, twist in a cone. Cannot be beat. Don't come at me with your hard scoops. They are delicious as well. But a cone twist is the pinnacle of desserts. Especially in the summer, nice warm day, you swing by, grab an ice cream cone, you sit outside, you enjoy yourself, take in the day, have your cone, and just, cap off a wonderful summer day. Can't be beat. Can't be beat. Can't be beat at all. Speaking of other foods, I guess we're not really speaking of other foods. We're just talking about some foods in general. Why are some foods better left over? Like, I'd love to, like, it's got to be just the way stuff sits. But roommate was out of town for a night, and the go-to when the roommate's out of town is I get myself some Chinese, because then I can get it and have like 3 meals out of it. While she's gone, I don't have to cook. I just get my Chinese, and I'm good to go for a couple meals. Chinese is better left over, I think. Like, the next day, heat it up, for lunch, or I love Chinese for breakfast. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I love it. Why is it better left over, though? Is it just something like the juices need to settle? You get the juices when you mix all up the rice and I do beef and broccoli and General Tso's, when you mix the rice up into that, and it gets all the sauce on it and kind of settles in. It's better the next day, and it's great the first day, but there's something about it the next day which makes it even better. Spaghetti is better the next day. What else? Roommate makes a delicious chicken Alfredo. That becomes better like the next day when like the oils and the grease and everything sits and sinks in, and there's plenty of things like that are just better the next day. And I guess it's just everything sinks in and, melds together or whatever, but absolutely delicious. I love good next day foods. Like, you eat it the first day and you're like, this is delicious. Like, you eat a plate of spaghetti, bowl of spaghetti, whatever you want to call it, spaghetti and meatballs. And you're like, yeah, this is great. I love it. But then in the back of your mind, you're like, whoa, tomorrow, I get to have it again, and it's going to be even better. Oh, chef's kiss. Can we talk about Mr. Joe Biden for a second? My man is out here doing some ridiculous things, as per usual, but he was giving a speech. I don't even know what this was, but then at one point he's talking about guns. He's like, there's trucks in Philly and New York. The trucks just come up and you buy AR-15s out of them. I'm like, where do I find one of these trucks? I gotta find me one of these trucks. And it's like, that's illegal now. I'm pretty sure you can't I'm pretty sure before you were president, it was illegal too, homie. You're not allowed to, you don't just drive around in a truck and sell guns. Like, I don't think that's happening legally anywhere. Now, hey, maybe it's happening. Maybe I just don't know about it, but I doubt it. Like, I don't know where he comes up with this thing, but the best thing that I saw from him, hang on. Get a swig of water before we get to this part. He was given some speech, and then all of a sudden, he ends it with, God save the Queen, man. God save the Queen, comma, man, was the transcript. God save the Queen? What the fuck are we talking about? I'm confused. First of all, it's America. No Queen's here. Second of all, Queen's dead. It's the king, bro. And then I love the man at the end. Man. Oof. Oofta. Where do I want to go? Oh, I saw this. This is a stupid ass tweet while we're talking about dumb shit. From Molly McGee. Where do I have it in here? Here it is. She put out a tweet. She's like, I'm starting to think that being poor is something that happens to you at birth. You can never really escape it. I'm a professor in Ivy League. I'm a New York Times best-selling editor. Novel coming out, and I'm still so fucking poor. It's embarrassing. And then another tweet of hers. She tweets a picture, and she goes, finish my library. What? You're not that fucking poor if you have a fucking library in your house. And it's a nice looking library, like an old classic looking library that you'd see in like an older style home. Oh, you're so fucking poor? You have a fucking library? Suck my dick. Shut the fuck up. Go away. Go away. Just another thing I was spinning through in my pictures of tweets and things here while I'm thinking of it so I don't miss it. Ryan Gerard played in the U.S. Open, He was taking a red-eye flight across the country to get to the Travelers to try and Monday qualify. He got in at 5 a.m. He has a 9:40. He's going to get in at 5 a.m. He has a 9:48 tee time on Monday. So be interesting when we drop the pod to look back at that and see how he made out. 5 a.m. arrival, and then gets right off the plane and heads right to the golf course. Oh, we're doing this again. I mean, I guess we're not doing this again. This thing never stops. Jay Billis is on his, if there's only enough money, tweeting about highest revenue earning athletic programs in 2022. And Ohio State is at the top, and they made $252 million. But I wish I had kept it. I saw a thing about what their budgets were and what they brought in versus what they spend. And Jay Billis, of course, if only there was enough money. Yeah, Jay, you get paid a lot of money to talk about college basketball, buddy. Like maybe Glass House's thing. No, that's not the one I was looking for. Because like Ohio State makes $252 million, but they don't actually, like, that's just straight revenue. Gosh, I saw this thing too. Now it's gonna annoy me. Like the whole thing is like, yeah, these guys make a lot of money, but they spend a lot of money on, yes, football and basketball make money for some of the programs. Like that's where all the money comes from. You know what doesn't make money? College golf, like a sport I played. Obviously not at D1, like a D3 level, but college golf, volleyball, softball, baseball, track, swimming, wrestling for most, schools, like all those, women's basketball, every women's sport, like all those are money losers. They're all just an expense. So like they got to pay for it some way. And yeah, the big money ones, they spend money on, they make a bunch of money, but yeah, they spend it all too. So it's not like they're just pocketing it. Trust me, there's plenty of things to be upset about college athletics, and players maybe should be getting paid more. They've got NIL now at least, and colleges in general are kind of a scam, if you will. But maybe Jay Billis can back off his fucking high horse while he makes a few $1 million a year off college athletics and be like, oh, there's only enough money. Like, yeah, you know what? You're making a decent chunk of change too. So why don't we just take a chill pill? Jordan Love is saying Happy Father's Day to Bears fans. I'm not sure that came out the way he wanted. I think he was trying to say, hey, Bears fans, we're your daddy. Packers own you. Hey, we own you. I still own you. First of all, Mr. Love, you ain't done shit. Rodgers was the one who was dominating them, so why don't we take a chill pill? Just a little chill pill, quick. Just pump the brakes. Second of all, you told them Happy Father's Day. Like, they're your daddy. Just think about it. Just think about it for a second. So there's okay. So we're working on some things. So not hearing great things about him out of camp, and now he's saying the Bears are his daddy. We're off to a hot start. He threw one 15-yard crossing route to Christian Watson, though, and Christian Watson took it to the house. He's our guy. The Oakland Athletics ballpark bill, whatever, passed their state legislature, and the governor signed it. It's $380 million of public funding towards a $1.5 billion stadium. Now goes to the owners for a vote, whether relocation will be accepted. There's a whole lot to break down in the whole of that discussion, too. And I don't think we're getting into all of it today. Public funding for, private ownership ballparks and clubs is always interesting. It's taxpayer money to fund that. You bring it to the town, you bring in extra revenue. You have that argument. Why are we funding billionaires to build billion-dollar stadiums? If they didn't get it, what would happen? Somebody else probably gives it to them. There's a whole lot to it, and I don't know. We've been going for a while today. Well, maybe we'll leave that for another day. We're gonna end it with this. I set up the TV on the porch, on the deck this weekend to watch the golf. It was beautiful. The only problem is the roommate won't let me put the real big one I have just sitting around in the basement with nothing going on. I want to put that one out there permanently. She's not feeling it, so I just had to take the little one out there. Had just like a little one floating around that she had back in college that sits in the kitchen sometimes, or if we have a guest over, toss it in their room for them. So that one was out there, but gosh, it was awesome. Just being outside watching TV, it makes you feel like a little bit less of a shithead for watching golf for like 7 straight hours. You're like, hey, at least I'm outside. You can grab the ball and toss it to the dog and just kind of be out there and not have to feel like you're missing something. So it just makes you feel like not a loser for watching TV for like 8 straight hours. All right, gotta save the queen, man. All right. Closing time, everybody. Just want to say a big thank you to everyone for tuning in, for watching, for listening. If you caught the live show last night, that's incorporated into that's at the start of the pod here as well. Appreciate all you guys. So thank you. Big shout out to Jeffy Slanovec for coming on, doing the live show with us. Appreciate you, friend of the pod. And as always, huge thank you, producer Kevin, keeping the wheels rolling on this thing. So thank you to everybody. Back next week. I don't know exactly what we got going on next week. I know there's another golf tournament, Travelers this weekend. Indians, Clayton. Oh, I've been doing so good. Guardians baseball. So plenty of stuff going on. Might try and toss a new topic in there somewhere in the next couple weeks. We're in the kind of the summer doldrums here now. So yeah, that'll be it for this week. So until next week, peace.